Hi everyone. What am I saying?
Welcome to Australia.
No. Welcome to Australia. Me and my team will talk to you about
General culture.
The economy, interpersonal communications,
and business meeting.
Just waiting around.
Okay, to start off with, I will first speak to you about the history of Australia. Paul Keating became Prime Minister in 1991, and this was important because he took an active role with neighboring countries, namely Indonesia. During that time, Australia was going through a depression. Many people were jobless and the economy was slow. Keating set out to solve this problem by focusing on international trade rather than trying to improve the domestic market. Relations with international countries were essential, especially with Indonesia. Both countries had strong ties but had not spoken in a decade. Keating went to bring this partnership back, and now they have a strong relationship up to this day. This is important to know because understanding a nation's economy will allow you to have empathy along with other people when it's necessary. And next, I want to tell you what things to know and why you should know it. Australia is not always business all the time. To gain respect, you have to make small talk. You must be able to discuss things that Australians are particularly interested in. Some of these topics include the arts, sports, and food. I will discuss these three things in detail so you become familiar and maybe you can assimilate into the Australian culture. First, the arts. The arts are particularly popular amongst its citizens. A good majority of the population have attended at least one cultural event every year. This shows the connection between the people and the nation. Many forms of art include film, music, and galleries or museums, but others include operas, live theater, and dance performances. The reason the arts attract many Australians is because it relates to the audience itself. Many popular visual artists show performances of Australian ancestry, and other artists reflect issues facing modern Australia. Now on to sports. Australians love to watch and play sports. Of course, so does everyone else. The only difference is Australians do not take care of an individual is better than another one. The belief in true equality carries over in sports. Taunting the opponent is inexcusable in the culture, even from the crowds. Physical activity in general is instilled in the hearts of Australians. 70% of Australians routinely participate in any type of exercise. The most popular activities include walking, aerobics, fitness, swimming, cycling, and tennis. In fact, Australians host one of the 4 Grand Slams of tennis, the Australian Open. But if you were to discuss with your colleagues what sport you were watching last night, you want to discuss a sport that most Australians are most familiar with. And the most 3 popular sports are Australian football, rugby, and cricket. Australian football is based on early forms of rugby and Gaelic football. Now I want to talk to you about food. If you were to have a lunch meeting or even order out, you would need to know what kind of food Australians have a taste for. In this case, Australians eat a large variety of food. The diversity of people in the country have led to this diversity. Australians have palates for any type of cuisine, mainly from Asia and Europe. There are a limited amount of Australian food because Australians love what every country has to offer. In cities, popular restaurants include Italian, Chinese, Greek, Japanese, and Vietnamese food. If you were to eat out with business partners, food you should order would be lamingtons, which is a sponge cake square dipped in chocolate and coconut, and Vegemite, a type of spread made from yeast products. Now I've talked to you about things you should be familiar with. Now we have to discuss the importance of an economy. Morel will talk to you about that.
Hi, my name is Morel. I'm talking about Australia's economy. With almost 2 consecutive decades of growth and the employment rate falling to general lows, Australia is the 14th strongest economy around the world. Highlights from Australia's economy recent years: its ability to withstand a number of internal and external events, including a major drought, a housing boom, dealing with Asia's financial and economic crisis, is able to overcome those and reach the top level of reaching a 3.3% GDP, gross gross domestic product of $889 billion in 2007. Unemployment has also fallen from a peak of almost 11% 15 years ago to below 5% in 2008, breaking a 18.5% gross domestic product, $95.8 billion in 1995 to 1996, breaking out a reducing government debts in 2005 to 2006, was Australia now a net creator, equivalent to an estimated 2.7% of gross domestic products, $28.1 billion. With a stable and modern industrial structure, Australia is able to provide good business and offerings for investments. With this new formal agenda, it dismantles many of its former protectionist tariffs, introduced domestic competition laws, deregulated its financial markets, floated an exchange rate, decentralized its labor market, incredibly anchor its microeconomics policies. A change in the tax system has also led a significant reduction in business costs. For example, goods and services tax is levied at 10% and all applies to almost all goods and services. Trading has been a huge recognition of Australia. It has been a good source towards other countries such as Japan, that's the number one, China, United States, United Kingdom, and Singapore. Australia imported $220 billion of goods and services and exported $216 billion worth of goods. About 16% of its exports of goods has risen to reach its highest values of $215.8 billion, which is about 21% of its gross domestic products in the year of 2006 to 2007. Australia exports has grown from $93 billion to over $154 billion. Resources that Australia has to offer are natural gas, coal, iron, bauxite, copper, tin, gold, silver, uranium, tungsten, minerals, sands, lead, zinc, opals, diamonds, grains, wools, meats, and food products. Its main resource has been a long major export of agriculture, minerals, and energy commodities, in which diversifies into new services and sophisticated manufacturing export markets. With an enhanced financial system and transparent market, Australia is known to be a major regional financial century. It has one of the highest rates of share ownership in the world. 50% of the adult population owns shares in publicly listed companies. Australia's stock market is the 9th largest in the world in a total market capitalization terms in 2007, with 2,000 companies with a total market capitalization of 1.6 trillion were listed on the Australia Stock Exchange. In 2006 to 2007, the finance and insurance sectors comprised 7.3% of the Australian economy, which has been a 4.7% growth rate over the past 20 years. Australia's competitive operating costs compared to regional hubs and high local skill levels has been the main attraction towards other companies, which encourages and lures other companies to want to do business with them. The World Bank characterized Australia's business environment as the fastest place in the world in which to start business. With great communication and self-respect towards each associate, Australia is a well-rounded region to start business. And within communications, we will switch to interpersonal communications with Brian.
Thank you, Bro. Hi, my name is Brian Galanos, and I'll be covering interpersonal communications. Since Australians view everyone as being equal, we want to converse with all levels. If you're a manager doing business in Australia, you also want to converse with employees like they were just like anybody else, like your friends or whatever. If you don't do this, there could be severe consequences, such as the employees might not implement your ideas, your strategies. You basically will be isolated from them. Same thing if you're an employee. If you don't converse with management thinking that, you think that they might be better, that they think that they're better than you, then they might not, work with you. So you have to kind of have a laid-back mentality when you're there. And also thing is they value humor. You have to keep a good humor. It's actually expected in the business culture in Australia to, you don't have to be like a comedian or anything, but you have to just keep up like a good, sense of humor. Keep it friendly, open.